You hear a lot about AI these days, right? And it often brings up this really big question. Is AI here to take our jobs?
Yeah, that's the fear, isn't it?
Or is there maybe a different future, one where, humans and machines actually work together?
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're diving deep into that second idea. We're exploring how people in a major global industry are actively preparing for a world where working with AI isn't just common, it's like essential.
It's right. We've been digging into a really insightful study. It was published in a human resource management journal, and it's based on interviews with professionals, right there on the ground.
People actually doing the work.
Exactly. Folks who are already seeing and navigating the impact of AI in their daily work lives.
And our mission in this deep dive is, pretty clear. We're going to unpack the absolute key findings from this study.
Mm-hmm.
What are the specific skills these experienced professionals say are going to be critical, not just to, hang on to your job in the AI era, but to actually thrive?
Yep.
This deep dive is tailored specifically for you to give you those essential insights. Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay, so let's set the scene quickly. We're living through a period of, incredible technological acceleration.
It feels like it, yeah.
AI isn't some futuristic concept anymore. It's here, and it's getting really good at sensing, understanding, learning, acting. It's fundamentally changing the workplace landscape.
And that's where you see these two big sort of contrasting narratives pop up.
Yeah.
The fear of massive job displacement on one hand.
Right.
And then the exciting potential for new jobs and completely new forms of value creation on the other.
Exactly. And the study acknowledges this reality. There is disruption, there is displacement, and it's happening across, virtually every industry touched by technology.
It's not just tech anymore.
Not at all. AI is increasingly stepping in to handle tasks that are, let's be honest, often tedious, mechanical, repetitive.
The boring stuff.
Pretty much. Think about things like sorting through mountains of documents, scheduling meetings, routine data collection, or even doing that initial number crunching for analysis.
Okay.
And this isn't confined to just a few tech hubs either. The study points out that AI is becoming incredibly common in places like China and India. They found AI is already employed in some form by, get this, 77% of the workforce in China and 71% in India.
Wow, that's huge, 71% in India.
Yeah, massive numbers. And the study grounds this by explaining that AI is built on the pillars of data science, analytics, machine learning. It learns by processing vast amounts of data.
Right.
Tools like automation software, expert systems, predictive analytics, they're already transforming how companies operate. For this study, they define AI quite simply as data-driven systems that extend human capabilities by enabling faster and better decision-making and problem-solving.
Okay, so extending human capabilities, that's the key phrase.
That's the idea. But the big challenge this presents for us humans is that even though sophisticated AI can reduce the need for manual effort in many areas, truly leveraging AI, connecting it to real-world business problems, that still requires human insight and capability.
Right, to human factor.
Exactly. So the ability to understand and effectively use AI systems, what the study calls upskilling, becomes absolutely critical for staying relevant.
Upskilling. And the numbers really underscore this, don't they?
They do. The source references research suggesting that somewhere between 30% to 40% of employees globally might need significant skill upgrades in the next decade.
30 to 40%.
Yeah.
That's a massive wave of change coming.
It really is. And it's telling that major global companies like Amazon, Infosys, IBM, Walmart, they aren't just pouring money into AI technology.
Yeah.
They're also making huge investments in developing their people skills. Human capital.
Okay, that makes sense. Investing in both sides.
Now, you might be wondering, why does this specific study zero in on India?
Yeah, I was wondering that. Why India?
Well, the source provides some compelling reasons. India is presented as, an emerging economic powerhouse.
Okay.
It has a young population entering the workforce, strong English language skills, and a deep pool of intellectual talent and diversity.
Right. And the Indian government is making a big national push for AI development too, isn't it?
Huge push. They have a program through Nutty Ayog that projects AI could add almost $1 trillion to India's economy by 2035.
$1 trillion?
Yeah. They even have a dedicated website, IndiaI, showcasing their progress.
Yeah.
On top of that, the Indian IT sector itself has built this global reputation over decades. It powers digital operations for businesses worldwide, seen as a benchmark for quality.
A huge employer, too, you said.
Huge, largest in the private sector, over 4 million professionals, and the government's investment in AI technology further strengthens this sector's position.
And there are policies encouraging IT education from early on.
Exactly, like the National Education Policy, pushing IT and computer science, creating a pipeline of talent ready for this digital future.
So, putting it all together, the Indian IT sector is like a perfect storm, almost, for studying AI's impact.
It really is. A high-growth sector, technology-driven, where AI disruption is highly anticipated, and that need for new skills is acutely felt.
Okay. So given all that context, what exactly was the core question this study set out to answer?
They wanted to know, pretty simply, what are the skills that will be deemed critical for the upskilling of employees to remain employable and thrive in the era of AI?
Right. What do you actually need to learn? And how do they figure that out? Interviews?
Yeah, they took a qualitative approach, conducting in-depth interviews. They spoke to 20 experienced professionals in multinational IT companies operating in India.
Not junior staff, you said.
No, these were middle to senior level managers. At least 10 years of experience, and crucially, they had direct experience either implementing AI systems or working closely with AI-enabled services.
Okay, so they know what they were talking about, and the companies were varied. Different sizes, different home bases.
Very much so. Small, medium, large companies. Headquarters all over Canada, USA, Denmark, Ireland, Switzerland, France, India itself, spread across multiple Indian cities too.
And the interviews were semi-structured, meaning they could kind of go off script.
Exactly. It allowed the participants to share their insights and experiences freely, which is, key to uncovering these nuanced findings, not just yes-no answer.
Right, you get the real stories. And they analyzed all that rich interview data to find the patterns. What kept coming up?
Precisely. They looked for common ideas, shared experiences, grouped them together to identify the core skills that kept emerging as essential for this AI future.
So after all that work, sifting through those interviews, what did they find? What are the critical skills? This is where it gets really interesting, right?
It really is. The study identified 5 critical skills needed for employees to upskill and succeed with AI, and they fall into 2 main buckets: technological skills and cognitive skills.
Okay, technological and cognitive. Let's break those down. What are the critical technological skills first?
Okay, the first one is data analysis skills, and the professionals interviewed couldn't stress this enough.
Really? That important?
Absolutely. The world is just drowning in data streaming and constantly from every direction in all sorts of formats. One participant, famously described data as the oil. Another called it gold.
So it's about being able to mine that oil or gold to actually get value from it.
Precisely. It's the systematic process of understanding this data, digging into it to find useful information, applying analytical techniques, all with the goal of informing decisions.
Okay.
And while they mentioned various tools people might use, like R programming, Python, Power BI, Tableau, Hadoop for big data.
Specific tools aren't the main point.
Not really. The core skill is the ability to work with data to extract value. It's fundamental for things like, say, building predictive models about the future.
Makes sense. And the second technological skill they highlighted?
Digital skills.
Yeah.
Our physical world is becoming increasingly connected to the digital world, right?
Yeah. It's like sensors everywhere, smart devices.
Exactly. Online interactions creating digital footprints. Companies are rapidly digitizing operations to be more efficient, secure, cost-effective.
And employees need to be fluent in that digital environment, comfortable working there.
Absolutely. Enabling this digital transformation requires comfort and capability with digital tools, metrics, strategies. As one professional put it, digital will be a core skill. A fundamental skill.
A fundamental skill, like reading and writing almost.
Kind of, yeah. This includes understanding and working with different types of automation technologies, cloud platforms, cybersecurity basics, essentially being digitally literate and capable of interacting with automated systems and digital workflows.
Okay, so that's the tech side. Data analysis, digital skills. Got it. What about the cognitive skills needed? The thinking side.
Right. There are 3 critical ones here. The first is complex cognitive skills.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Well, with all that data and digital capabilities, simply running reports isn't enough. You need higher level thinking to make sense of massive varied information.
Okay, beyond just the numbers.
Exactly. It's about processing data, interpreting complex results, finding the story in the numbers, and combining insights from different sources to solve problems or understand situations that aren't straightforward.
So, using our uniquely human intelligence where AI might struggle. like with nuance or ambiguity.
Precisely that. It's applying that higher order intelligence. Dealing with ambiguity, making connections across different pieces of information. This includes skills like systems thinking, understanding how different parts interact, and design thinking.
Which is about creative problem solving.
Yeah, focusing on user needs. The study participants talked about the need to understand the deep technical details of products, explain complex concepts clearly to customers, and derive insights from data that goes beyond simple patterns. It's about visualization and interpretation at a deeper level.
Okay, complex cognitive skills. And the second cognitive skill feels directly related to the first one.
It absolutely is. Decision-making skills. Ultimately, the goal of a lot of this data analysis and digital transformation is to make better decisions for the business.
Right. Makes sense.
But the professionals highlighted that even with tons of data available, organizations aren't always good at using it effectively to guide decisions.
And this is where the human element comes back in again. Judgment.
Crucially, decision-making involves human judgment. Even with data, it can be subjective. The need is for employees to make decisions that are, rational based on evidence from the data, but also consider the broader context, the dynamic nature of human behavior that the data represents, and potential biases that might be in the data that AI is trained on.
That's a key point, AI bias.
It is. So making speedy decisions in real time, reflecting current trends while being aware of these complexities is vital. As one participant noted, today I have a lot of data. I should be able to use these as inputs to inform my decisions.
Using data as input, not as the final answer, necessarily.
Exactly. And they also pointed out that since AI learns from data often generated by humans, the outcomes can reflect those human biases, so decision makers need that awareness.
Okay. Decision-making skills.
Yeah.
Critical. And the third critical cognitive skill is maybe the most foundational for just surviving and thriving in this fast-changing world.
Absolutely. Continuous learning skills. The business world is often described as VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous.
Right, VUCA.
The pace of technological change is relentless. The lifespan of a specific tool or software can be measured in months, maybe weeks, not years anymore. If you stop learning, you quickly become obsolete.
That sounds intense. Stale in a day, someone said.
It is. One professional put it exactly like that. If you don't learn, you become stale in a day in this industry.
Wow.
So companies are realizing this and actively promoting a culture of continuous learning, providing access to training, resources on demand. Agility isn't just a buzzword, it's a necessity. Roles like Scrum Master or Agile Coach were specifically mentioned as critical for navigating this constant disruption.
Okay, so to recap those 5 critical skills for upskilling in the AI era: data analysis and digital skills on the tech side, and complex cognitive decision-making and continuous learning on the cognitive side. That's the core set that needs focus.
Exactly. That's what emerged strongly from the interviews. And the study didn't just identify these skills, it also looked at how their perceived importance is shifting over time.
Oh, interesting. So not just what skills, but when they become most crucial, their dynamic importance.
Precisely. Think of it like a map showing where the need for upskilling is greatest. Some skills might be moderately important now, but are expected to become tremendously important as AI gets more integrated.
And that's the zone where the biggest upskilling effort is needed, where the urgency is highest.
That's the idea. According to the study's analysis, those are primarily the cognitive skills we just discussed: data analysis, decision-making, and complex cognitive skills.
So those 3 are in the highest need zone.
Right. They were seen as important today, but their projected importance in the future is significantly higher, putting them squarely in that prime upskilling area. Bottom right quadrant, if you imagine a chart.
Okay. And the other 2 critical skills, digital and continuous learning, where do they fit?
Those were actually seen as already being highly important today and remaining highly important in the future.
So they're like table stakes now and going forward, top right quadrant.
Exactly. Current must-haves that will continue to be crucial. And the study contrasts all these with skills that are expected to become less relevant over time.
Okay, that's a really useful way to visualize it. Beyond these dynamically changing skills, though, the study also looked at abilities that remain important regardless of the tech shifts, right? The evergreen skills.
Right. These are essentially the core social and interpersonal skills. Things like leadership, interpersonal skills, communication skills.
Things that make us human, basically.
Pretty much. They don't lose their value, but the way we apply them is changing because of AI. The context is shifting.
How so? How do things like leadership or communication change when AI is heavily involved in the workplace?
Well, for leadership, it's evolving. Leaders in the AI era need to understand enough about AI to integrate it effectively, sometimes called having algorithmic thinking or speaking a technical dialect.
So they need some tech literacy themselves.
Definitely. And they need to lead teams that might include both humans and AI agents, thinking about how roles are designed, how work flows, and, importantly, relentlessly promoting that continuous learning culture among their human workforce.
Right. And building relationships, interpersonal skills.
That's still key. Building trust is always crucial. But the context is increasingly virtual. You might be collaborating more with distant teams or interacting with AI systems that represent aspects of the business. So the ability to build and maintain relationships effectively virtually becomes more prominent.
Which brings us straight to communication.
Exactly. Being comfortable and effective with virtual communication is vital. It needs to be clear, comprehensive, unambiguous, maybe even more so without all the face-to-face cues.
Yeah, things get lost in translation easily online.
They do. But the study also reinforces that the human element remains irreplaceable. Even with sophisticated AI, you still need that human touch for things like building company culture, complex problem solving that requires real collaboration, emotional connection.
The chat robot can't connect emotionally.
Exactly. As one professional put it, a chat robot cannot connect with me psychologically or emotionally. You still need people for that.
So these evergreen skills are still fundamental, but they need to be adapted, applied effectively in this new AI-infused environment. The study notes the degree of upskilling needed here might be less intense than for the tech and cognitive skills, but they're far from unimportant.
Absolutely. They are the essential human layer that holds everything together.
Now, what about the flip side? The skills that are becoming less important, the ones that maybe AI is making obsolete.
Yeah, the study identified tasks that are highly routine, mundane, and based on strict rules. Those are the prime candidates for AI automation. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's what AI is good at. So which skills specifically did they see diminishing in relevance?
Well, two main ones were called out. Basic statistics and traditional project management.
Wait, basic statistics. That seems counterintuitive with all this talk about data analysis.
It does at first glance, yeah. But the distinction they make is crucial. The study suggests that AI will handle the basic statistical calculations and standard analyses extremely well in the future.
So the machine does the calculation part.
Right. That knowledge of how to run basic statistics will become sort of a default capability of the tools. Like knowing how to use a calculator is fundamental, but it's not a high-value skill on its own anymore.
So what is valuable for humans then, statistically speaking?
It's the application of statistics. Understanding which analysis is needed for a specific problem, interpreting the results in context, seeing the nuances, using them to derive deeper meaning and insights for decision-making. As a participant noted, just knowing statistics is not enough. What is relevant is the application of statistics.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. Application over calculation. And traditional project management, why is that diminishing?
AI is getting really good at automating many of the routine task-based elements. Things like scheduling, resource allocation based on predefined rules, tracking simple progress updates.
The admin side of PM.
A lot of it, yeah. Plus, the IT industry itself is already shifting away from older methodologies like the waterfall model towards more agile approaches.
Right, agile, Scrum.
Exactly. Roles like Scrum Master and Agile Coach are seen as more relevant now. They focus on flexibility, adapting to change, enabling faster delivery, facilitating collaboration between teams, client connectivity, much less on just managing fixed schedules and detailed documentation, which was more the traditional focus.
So AI is really targeting those repetitive, rule-based tasks, freeing up humans for the more complex, adaptive, and, well, human parts of the job.
That's the core shift they identified, exactly.
So pulling all this together, it really paints a picture not of humans being replaced wholesale, but of a future built on human-AI collaboration, complementarity.
Exactly. That's the big takeaway. The study's findings align really well with other research suggesting the future workforce will focus on skills that are analytical, intuitive, and empathetic, while AI handles the more mechanical tasks.
So it's about synergy.
Right. Leveraging AI's speed and scale for data processing, for routine tasks, while humans provide the critical thinking, the contextual understanding, the ethical judgment, the interpersonal skills that AI, currently lacks.
This sounds like a move towards what some people call the learning economy, where that continuous learning is paramount. And maybe the feeling economy emphasizing those empathetic, human-centric tasks.
Yes, absolutely. And it means managers need to think creatively about restructuring jobs to play to human strengths, not just automate everything possible. This need for evolving skills applies at all levels too, right up to senior leadership.
Leaders need to get it too.
Definitely. Leaders who understand AI are much better equipped to guide their organizations through this massive transformation. Ultimately, the study suggests AI's computational power will serve to make humans more capable, not less. It's a tool to enhance us.
Okay, so to bring this deep dive to a close, this study from the Indian IT sector gives us a really clear picture, I think, of the skills you need to focus on to thrive in the AI era. It highlights 5 critical skills requiring significant upskilling, data analysis, digital fluency, those complex cognitive abilities, decision-making, and absolutely crucial continuous learning.
Those are the core techno-cognitive skills.
Right. And they sit alongside those evergreen social skills: leadership, interpersonal connection, communication, which remain vital but need to adapt to a more digital AI-driven context. Still essential.
Meanwhile, routine tasks, like running basic statistics or traditional project management admin, are diminishing as AI takes them over. It's a vision of evolving to a higher collective intelligence, really, combining human and machine capabilities. And while this study focused specifically on IT in India, the underlying trends about which skills are becoming more or less valuable because of AI, well, those are relevant pretty much globally. Understanding this helps you see the path forward in your own career, helps you prepare for the evolving nature of work wherever you are.
Definitely food for thought for everyone listening. And this study, it kind of leaves us with a significant final thought to ponder, doesn't it?
It does.
Considering AI's growing ability to automate jobs, especially those routine ones, think about the potential social and psychological impact this has on individuals, particularly in places, maybe economies, where widespread employment is really crucial for societal stability and, well, just people's development. How do we ensure this massive transition is navigated thoughtfully, humanely, minimizing disruption to people's lives as technology reshapes work?
This raises an important question for all of us looking ahead, a really important one.